On July 30th, 1945, the USS Indianapolis vanished beneath the Pacific in 12 minutes, taking 880 souls and a wartime secret with it. For 72 years, no one knew what truly happened. But now, with forensic footage from the ocean's crushing depths, the terrifying truth behind the Navy's greatest loss and the mission that helped end World War II will finally be revealed. How did such a legendary ship simply disappear? The answer begins with its most fateful mission. Commissioned in 1932, the USS Indianapolis was a heavy cruiser built for speed, power, and endurance. Stretching 610 feet from bow to stern and displacing over 9,200 tons, the ship stood as a testament to American naval engineering of the era. Her 9 8-inch guns, arranged in 3 triple turrets, gave her the ability to deliver devastating broadsides, while 8 5-inch anti-aircraft guns and dozens of smaller batteries protected her from air attack. Over the course of World War II, Indianapolis earned 10 battle stars, a record that placed her at the forefront of nearly every major Pacific campaign. She shelled enemy positions at Tarawa, Kwajalein, Saipan, Tinian, and Iwo Jima, providing bombardment ahead of amphibious landings and anti-aircraft cover for carrier groups. As flagship for Admiral Raymond Spruance and the Fifth Fleet, the ship coordinated some of the most complex operations in the Pacific theater. She survived kamikaze attacks, fierce bombardments, and months of frontline action. By the summer of 1945, Indianapolis was not only a decorated warship, but a symbol of resilience and tactical importance. The loss of such a vessel would not just be a blow to the fleet, it would send shockwaves through the Navy and the nation alike. In July 1945, the USS Indianapolis was handed a mission unlike any other. Loaded in secrecy at Hunter's Point in San Francisco, the ship carried a cargo that would change the course of the war. The core components and enriched uranium for the atomic bomb destined for Hiroshima. Orders were clear: make the fastest run possible across the Pacific. No stops, no delays. Her engines pushed to their limits. Indianapolis crossed nearly 5,000 miles in just 10 days, shattering records for a heavy cruiser. The crew was told little about the cargo, only that failure was not an option. Upon reaching Tinian Island on July 26th, the classified materials were offloaded under the cover of darkness. The ship's success in this top-secret assignment would remain unspoken for decades. With the urgent delivery complete, new orders arrived. Indianapolis was to proceed alone to Leyte Gulf, unescorted, despite warnings of enemy submarines prowling the Philippine Sea. No destroyer screen, no air cover, just open water and the unknown. The decision left the ship exposed, a solitary target on a vast and dangerous route. The men on board, many exhausted from the record-setting voyage, had no idea their next journey would lead them into history's most harrowing naval disaster. At 00:15 hours on July 30th, 1945, midnight, a Japanese submarine I-58 moved silently beneath the calm waters of the Philippine Sea. Commander Mochitsura Hashimoto ordered the launch of 2 Type 95 torpedoes. The first torpedo struck the Indianapolis at the starboard bow, instantly severing the forward section and igniting a 3,500-gallon fuel tank. Flames shot skyward as the blast tore through steel, sending shockwaves down the length of the ship. Seconds later, the second torpedo hit amidships near the powder magazine. The resulting explosion triggered a chain reaction. Secondary blasts ripped through the interior, splitting the ship nearly to the keel and knocking out all power. Darkness engulfed the decks. Darkness. Alarms failed, communications died, and the Indianapolis began to list sharply to port. Compartments flooded in seconds. The forward hull, already weakened by the first blast, started to break away from the rest of the ship. Water poured through ruptured bulkheads and open hatches, trapping hundreds below decks. As the bow sheared off, the main hull pitched forward and began its final descent. The crew had no time to organize an orderly evacuation. Lifeboats could not be launched. Only a handful of rafts floated free. Within a span of 12 minutes, the pride of the fleet was gone. About 300 men went down with the ship, lost in the chaos and darkness. The rest Nearly 900 were left scattered across the open sea, clinging to debris and life jackets as the last bubbles from the Indianapolis rose to the surface. No distress call was confirmed received. The violence and speed of the sinking left the crew with nothing but the night and the vast, empty ocean. The machinery of war, so powerful in battle, had been undone in minutes by two well-placed torpedoes and a sequence of catastrophic failures. The Indianapolis had vanished, leaving only silence and the distant hum of the submarine slipping away. The men who escaped the sinking Indianapolis found themselves scattered across the Philippine Sea, clinging to debris and battered by waves. For the next 4 days, the survivors endured a nightmare that defied imagination. The sun blistered exposed skin by day, while nights brought bone-deep cold. Most had only kapok life jackets to keep them afloat, and almost none had food or fresh water. Thirst drove some to drink seawater, leading to hallucinations and agony as salt poisoning set in. Oil from the ship's ruptured tanks coated faces and bodies, offering a thin shield from the sun, but burning eyes and throats. Sharks arrived with the first light. Oceanic white-tip and tiger sharks, drawn by blood and movement, circled the groups of men. Attacks came without warning. Some survivors slipped away quietly, others were pulled under in full view of their shipmates. Estimates of shark-related deaths vary, but most historians place the number between 50 and 150. The greater toll came from exposure, dehydration, and wounds. As hours stretched into days, the groups grew smaller. Delirium set in. Some lost hope and slipped beneath the waves, while others clung to life through sheer willpower and the support of those around them. Ensign Harlan Twible later recalled, "My fear was really for the men, not for myself. My biggest concern was that the people we could save, we saved them." His words capture the desperate sense of responsibility felt by those who tried to keep their fellow sailors alive. Rescue came not by design, but by chance. On August 2nd, a routine patrol flight spotted a patch of oil and bobbing figures in the water. Word spread quickly, and more planes arrived, dropping rafts and supplies. Lieutenant Adrian Marks, piloting a PBY Catalina, landed on the open sea against orders and began hauling men aboard, packing survivors into every available space, even lashing them to the wings. Surface ships raced to the scene, pulling the last survivors from the water on August 3rd. Of the 1,196 crew who had sailed from San Francisco, only 316 were saved. The rest, 880 men, were lost to the sea, making this the worst disaster in U.S. naval history. For decades after the disaster, the final resting place of the USS Indianapolis remained unknown. Early search efforts, including major expeditions in 2001 and 2005, swept vast stretches of the Philippine Sea using sonar and deep-sea submersibles. Each mission returned empty-handed, stymied by the sheer size of the ocean and uncertainty over the ship's last coordinates. The Indianapolis had vanished so completely that some even questioned if it would ever be found. That changed in 2016 when naval historian Richard Holver uncovered a single overlooked entry in the deck log of LST 779. This landing ship had crossed paths with the Indianapolis just hours before the attack, recording a precise position. That detail shifted the presumed sinking site by nearly 25 miles to the west. For the first time, searchers had a credible fix, one based on contemporary evidence rather than estimates or survivor memory. Armed with this new data, the team aboard Paul Allen's research vessel Petrel began a targeted search, focused, efficient, and disciplined. Instead of sweeping hundreds of square miles, they laid out a focused sonar grid, methodically scanning the seabed in the recalibrated area. The process was slow, deliberate, and relentless. Every blip and anomaly on the sonar screen was investigated and mapped. The search grid covered a 10 by 10 nautical mile box, each pass narrowing the possibilities. On August 19, 2017, at a depth of 18,000 feet, over 3 miles down, the sonar finally revealed the unmistakable outline of a warship. Further investigation confirmed the find. The Indianapolis had been located, resting in the darkness of the Philippine Sea. After 72 years, the mystery of her disappearance yielded to careful research, forensic reasoning, and the persistence of those determined to bring the ship's story to light. The next step would be a descent into the deep, sending cameras and robotic explorers to document the evidence left behind. 18,000 feet below the surface, the world changes. Down here, the pressure is more than 8,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a modern submarine in seconds. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and oxygen is almost non-existent. In this deep-sea abyss, sunlight never penetrates, and time itself seems to slow. These conditions, so hostile to life, have preserved the wreck of the USS Indianapolis in a state few could have imagined. When the ROV pilot guided the vehicle's lights across the seafloor, the first thing to appear was the ship's hull number 35, still stenciled in white paint on the battered steel. After 72 years, that simple marking left no doubt. The search was over. The hull, though scarred and fractured, stands out against the endless black. The ship's bell rests on the bridge, its brass dulled but unbroken. Teak decking remains on the upper levels, protected by the cold and darkness. Even delicate objects, white ceramic bowls, a first aid kit, a toolbox, lie undisturbed, shielded from currents and corrosion by the crushing depth. The ROV operator, a veteran of dozens of deep-sea missions, described the moment as unlike anything I have ever seen. The Indianapolis is not a skeleton of rust and ruin, but a time capsule. The absence of oxygen and the extreme cold have halted the decay that would devour a wreck in shallower water. Paint clings to steel. Wood resists rot. The ship's guns remain locked in their final positions, as if still waiting for orders. Every pass of the ROV camera reveals more evidence: personal effects, battle damage, the silent order of a warship frozen at the instant of its destruction. In this environment, the Indianapolis has become a monument, untouched by scavengers, storms, or the slow grind of the sea. The preservation is so complete that each artifact tells its own story, waiting for the world above to bear witness. Laser-scaled ROV footage and sonar mosaics reveal the full spatial story of the Indianapolis's destruction. The main hull rests upright in a vast impact crater, surrounded by scattered debris that stretches across several square miles. The bow, torn away by the first torpedo blast, lies 1.5 miles from the main wreck, a distance that speaks to the force of the explosion and the violence of the breakup. 8 frames of hull plating are bent sharply back at nearly 90 degrees, confirming a catastrophic structural failure at the forward section. Naval architects reviewing the footage point to the pattern of damage as textbook evidence of a magazine detonation. The second torpedo, striking amidships near the powder magazine, triggered a chain reaction that split the ship nearly to the keel. Blast signatures, outward bent plating, and abrupt shearing at the bow separation point align with the historical record and engineering models of torpedo impact. The debris field scale and the separation of the bow are not the result of gradual sinking or post-impact drift, but of a ship torn apart in seconds by internal forces. Sonar mapping overlays the wreck orientation against original blueprints, confirming that the main hull position in the crater matches a near vertical descent. Gun turrets 1 and 2, ejected from their mounts, are buried barrel first nearby. The bridge and forward structures are scattered in a secondary debris field between the bow and hull. Each artifact, from toolboxes to first aid kits, remains frozen in place, undisturbed by currents or scavengers. Expert analysis concludes that only a catastrophic structural breakup, initiated by the torpedo strikes and compounded by magazine explosions, could produce such a pattern. The evidence rules out any possibility of a controlled sinking or partial hull integrity. The spatial mapping, confirmed by both ROV imagery and sonar data, provides irrefutable proof of how and why the Indianapolis vanished so quickly. The forensic record, preserved at the bottom of the sea, closes the technical debate that lingered for decades. Forensic record. The forensic record left on the seabed answers questions that haunted the Navy for generations. Every detail of the wreck, the torn hull, the scattered debris, the violent separation of the bow, confirms that the loss of the Indianapolis was immediate and total. Naval architects and engineering experts reviewing the remotely operated vehicle findings and survivor accounts reached a unanimous conclusion. Nothing Captain McVay could have done would have changed the outcome. The torpedo strikes and magazine explosion doomed the ship in minutes, leaving no time for evasive maneuvers or organized rescue. Decades of debate ended with the evidence recovered from 18,000 feet below. In 2001, Congress formally cleared McVay's name, citing both the new engineering analysis and testimony from Japanese commander Mochitsura Hashimoto, who stated that zigzagging would not have saved the ship. Science and history, at last, delivered justice long denied. The remains of the USS Indianapolis now rest undisturbed in the darkness, recognized as a protected war grave by the United States Navy. Its exact location remains confidential, safeguarded from salvage or intrusion out of respect for the 880 men who never returned. The Navy treats the site as hallowed ground, a place where families and shipmates can know their loved ones are honored in perpetuity. The discovery of the wreck has deepened the sense of stewardship, inspiring new protocols for preserving military wrecks and ensuring their stories are told with dignity. In this silent expanse, the Indianapolis stands as both a memorial and a lesson, reminding future generations of sacrifice, accountability, and the enduring need to care for the past. Beneath nearly 18,000 feet of ocean, the USS Indianapolis endures as both a war grave and a warning. Today, its story reshapes military accountability and reminds us that technology can illuminate hard truths once left in darkness. As new wrecks are discovered each year, confronting uncomfortable evidence remains vital, because the lessons we uncover at these depths define how we honor sacrifice and prevent future silence.